Hello learners, I welcome you all to the second segment of lecture number 12. So in this lecture we are talking about move towards regulating foreign investment, and in the first segment we discussed about how there was a changing landscape with regard to expropriation. So in this segment I wanted to discuss about Iran oil nationalization and also the rise of new entrants in the oil sector, or there were new entrants in the oil sector, how they started coming up. That is what we're going to focus on in this segment. So in Iran, the Mossadegh's National Front government nationalized Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, which was a Britain company, in May 1951. So when that was the nationalization had happened, obviously we expect reaction from Britain. Britain also reacted. It froze the bank accounts of Iran in London, and even the Royal Air Force had made a Panama ship to surrender Iran's oil. And what we see here is the US oil companies like Mobil, Exxon, Texaco, Gulf and Standard of California, all of these companies also supported Britain. In fact, the Seven Sisters, the seven oil companies are popularly called as Seven Sisters. So the Seven Sisters, who controlled 90% of the world oil trade, they boycotted Iran. What they did was, they in fact dealt with the oil trade only with countries like Saudi Arabia, Iraq and Kuwait. They restricted themselves to these countries, and therefore when they boycotted Iran, it was a very effective measure against Iran, because Iran could only manage to sell 3% of its production level. Please note, 3% is nothing. It's a very minimum one. Moreover, Iran faced other problems also. Iran had nationalized the oil companies. Now, it did not have the technical capability nor technicians to run and operate these nationalized facilities. It did not have technicians to work in the refineries to crack the crude oil. It did not have tankers to ship the oil. It did not have marketing facilities, so basically it was not able to do much, right? So what we see here is Iran had nationalized oil, Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, but it could only sell 3% of its production level. So now we do see that CIA and Britain overthrew Mossadegh's government, and then we see Shah Pahlavi was given the power. When Shah assumed the power, the throne, he also sort of not much happened. The AIOC did not come back to its former glory days, right? Its prominence, compensation were paid, that was there, but it did not come back to the same glory that it enjoyed before nationalization. What started happening was, there was some sort of a transformation that started happening in the oil sector. What is this transformation? Why did it start coming up? Maybe because, where there was this US antitrust laws that were passed that sort of gave the possibility for new oil companies to come up. Until this point, right after Iran's nationalization, what we see here was oil companies were able to collectively take a measure. So, they were able to act collectively. That was they had forced Iran to only sell 3% of its production level, right? So, that is actually a very successful measure on the part of the oil companies, and they were able to act collectively. But with the US antitrust laws that were passed, now we could see new entrants entering into the oil sector, and they want to carry on the business in the oil sector. So that possibility was there. At the same point of time when the new entrants started coming up, so the oil producing countries, this was beneficial for them, because they could collaborate with the new oil companies rather than going to the major oil companies, right? Because major oil companies, they are sort of yielding an enormous power. That is something that we could see from what had happened in Iran. So with the new entrants coming into the market, that actually strengthened the position of oil producing countries. What in fact we see here was, there was a transformation in 1970s. There was a transformation to the oil industry pattern itself. So a major transformation had happened. With the new oil companies coming up, what we see here is the share of the major oil companies dropping 3/5 in 1970s. They, after Iran oil nationalization in 1951, in 1950s, we do see that they were a very powerful companies, right? But by 1970s, we do see a change or transformation in the oil sector itself, and their shares also had come down. And what we see here is when their shares have come down, that sort of strengthened the position of oil producing countries. Now let us look at what Peter Cohoy had noted with regard to this transformation to the oil sector itself. Peter Cohoy actually stated that numerous new entrants, large and small domestic firms from the United States, as well as some state-supported firms from Europe and Japan, actually made the skills of the majors in the sense major oil companies, more dispensable, while national oil companies of oil exporting nations grew in technical competence and could reasonably hope to direct subcontractors on projects. Thus, the newcomers gave OPEC nations, oil Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, more latitude in selecting commercial partners for selling their oil. So that had happened. But otherwise also there was some sort of a nationalization, massive nationalization that we see happening in OPEC countries, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. They started nationalizing oil companies and they established state-run oil companies. So they had state oil companies. So these state oil companies, what they did, there was some rise in technical competence and all of that, that was there. They were not as clueless like what had happened in Iran. And these state oil companies could choose a variety of collaborators. They need not go and take only the help of the major oil companies, because now we see new entrants had come into the oil sector. So that sort of helped in strengthening the position of OPEC countries, and they had the freedom to choose between different oil companies, and they did it. When the OPEC state-run oil companies also started playing a major role in the oil sector, the rise of the new oil companies also decreased. That is, they went from 33% to 20%, and there was again a decrease of the oil companies in the context of major oil companies as well. The share of major oil companies from 61% to 25%. So what we see here is that there's the role of a state-run oil companies is getting more prominent compared to that of the new entrants as well as major oil companies. So in fact, we could look at what Charles Lipson has actually observed with regard to this transformation. So in 1979 onwards, this transformation started coming, right? So the role of state-run oil companies started gaining prominence in late 1970s and 80s. So Charles Lipson made a very interesting observation in this regard. Charles Lipson, while talking about the role of private oil companies, he stated that from World War I until the late 1960s, they were fully integrated multinationals. The private oil companies were fully integrated multinationals. But in the mid-1970s, they had become privileged buyers of OPEC crude, taking large quantities at a slight discount, and by the end of the decade, they saw themselves as suppliers of exploration services on production technology, management consulting, transportation, refining and marketing. But even then, all of these transactions were profitable to them. So there was a change in the structure of these giant organizations, and these changes striking. This is what Charles Lipson had observed with regard to the role of private oil companies. I mean, we will look at how they went from controlling world oil trade to providing exploration services in segment 4. So segment 4, when we talk about move towards regulating foreign investment, we will talk about that. But before talking about that, I very quickly wanted to give you a background with regard to Venezuela and Saudi Arabia nationalization as well. So let me end this segment here, and we'll pick up our discussion with regard to Venezuela and Saudi Arabia in the third segment. Thank you.